Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our great friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town, Ty Bartell, Anthony Hartwig. And, we're kicking off the show with, a very special guest today as we bring in Mr. Scotty.
Yes, and I'm happy. I think this is the first time since I've joined you on the show, Anthony and Ty, since I've joined you on Running Point that I've been on to kick off the show. So it's exciting.
Yeah, here we go. Kicking off the show, Ty. Before we get to Scotty's topic that he brought, we got to recap at least one thing last night. And the one thing we have to recap is Boardman boys soccer. Just got to, tip the hat to a great performance by them. They get the upset. They shocked the soccer world and beat Howland 4-2. This was not a 1-0. They got a penalty kick type win. This was like we came out, we were on the attack all night. They scored 2 goals before halftime, I believe. And their offense had a game plan, executed it great. We've talked to Eric Simeon, the head coach over there, and congratulations to Boardman, ending a very long streak from the Howland Tigers soccer team.
Yeah, I believe it was 27 straight that Howland has put up, and that is very, very impressive, too. And this is a topic that before the show I was telling you we have to mention it. I know we have a jam-packed show filled with all kinds of guests that we're going to be talking to, but this is something we have to address because the Boardman soccer program, you got to look at them, and you got to really, like you said, Anthony, tip your cap at this phenomenal feat that they just accomplished because many have tried, and a lot of great teams have tried to knock off this Howland Tigers team, and not many have been able to.
So the streak for Howland, they had 2 streaks going, really. They had a 42-game regular season game winning streak at 42. And then their total game winning streak was at 27.
27 in a row, too.
When you include playoffs and regular season. So 27 game winning streak overall, 42 game regular season streak, erased, snuffed, washed out by the Spartans. Just complete awesome performance. You look at the scoring for Boardman. They had goals from Landon Mitchell. They also got a goal from Ian McGavin, Logan Thompson, and Cole Congson. Assists were given to Congson and AJ Barber. Howland goals, by the way, they had one from Fernando Ramos Jr. and one from Pascual Carinante. So Nicholas Durig got an assist, and both teams back in action on Thursday as Boardman travels to Badger, and Howland will, try to start a new streak. They're traveling to Fitch.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be a tough matchup for Fitch, and I'm not even going to lie in saying that this is probably the worst time to try to face the Howland Tigers is in Fitch's situation. You always want to be the team that gives them that first loss to end a streak. You never want to be the team that faces them right after that loss because now it's about how does this state championship powerhouse team adjust after losing their first time in a while. And they're going to because they have the pieces, they have the coaching staff, they have the program to be able to adjust. and it's going to be interesting to see what Howland does. But I think Fitch has their hands full with the Tigers on Thursday.
And, Boardman is going to play a very good Badger team that is in, I believe, Division III, always making playoff runs. So Boardman's job doesn't get any easier as well. But with that, we definitely want to say once again, congratulations to Boardman. And if you're a Howland fan out there, your soccer team's fine. Every team's human, no matter how good the team is. They're going to have 1 or 2 games every now and then. And for Howland, it's like every 2 years. A clunker. It's okay. They're still state ranked. They're still number 1 in the state. And they'll still have something to say about things in the playoffs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, losses in Howland soccer program come around as often as leap year does. So don't worry about it, Tigers. We'll be all right.
All right, let's bring Scotty into this. And Scotty, what have you come to us with today?
I just wanted to talk to start off. I wanted to talk a little bit of football since Northeast Ohio and here in the Valley and at YSN. I mean, is there a better time of the year? I mean, there might be times just as good, but nothing tops high school football Fridays. And the team I wanted to bring up to you guys was the Ursuline, the Irish. They've been very impressive this year, winning games in shootouts. The game against Fitch, the game against Warren Harding, just some crazy back and forth, very entertaining type games. But my question for you guys, and maybe this is a dated adage, but it is an adage. The old adage in football is defense wins championships. So Ursuline, they look great right now, but are you guys concerned at all? Would you be concerned if you were a player or a coach with the points they've been giving up, or you just think it's a product of them playing that, juggernauts on their schedule and tough opponents, and they'll be fine when it comes to the state playoffs? They've been very entertaining, but if you were a fan or a player, would you be concerned with that defense at all?
Ty, well, I'll let you corral this one.
So for me in this one, winning trumps everything in the regular season. So as long as you're winning, that's all that matters. And Ursuline keeps finding ways to win. When you get to the playoffs, though, yeah, this is going to be a question, I think, for Ursuline. When you start facing those other powerhouse teams from other districts around the state, you got to start bunkering down on defense. And we've seen a couple of games. We've seen a game, I should say, where Ursuline really had everything seemed to put together on defense. But if you don't think that this is a concern within the Irish community, I think you just got to look at what Coach Reardon does with his team each and every game, that they give up those large amount of points, making them do push-ups usually, because he knows where that defense needs to be to make this a state championship level team. I think they've shown a couple of times with being able to make big plays. I'm waiting for them to put more games together defensively to see where that defense stands. They still have a few weeks to do it, halfway point through the season. Good chance to look at your team, say, we got everything figured out on offense. I think we could have every offensive piece that we want right now in our system. We need to figure out some ways on defense to stop teams, especially with this outside zone run that they are getting killed on week in and week out.
And here's what I'll say about their defense. And I like that Ty brought up that they're making plays. I think 2 out of 3 of their wins have come basically because their defense made plays. So they're definitely playmakers on that defense, and you have to kind of tip the hat to that, the ability to show up when you're needed most. But at the end of the day, I think Ty's right. Come playoff time, especially when you get deep in the playoffs, man, if anyone even slows down that offense a little bit, I don't know. Is like, can their defense hold up and make a couple of stops?
Like I said, regular season, it's nice when you're scoring about 50 a game and the opponents are scoring 40 because you're still winning by 10. But I feel like those margins start shrinking a little bit in the playoffs, and you still want to be in that positive differential at the end of it. And there's no doubt that defense is the area that needs improved, if anything needs improved on Ursuline's team.
Ursuline's been clutch. They've been winning, and you have to hand them that, but they're playing with fire. The last 2 weeks, they've been playing with fire. Those games were definitely 50-50 games, and they just went Ursuline's way. You got to think eventually the universe is going to catch up to you if you keep playing like that.
Yeah, and you know what? Coach Reardon's one of those guys, too. He knows that, and he's not one that's just satisfied because they're winning. He wants to make them get better, and he knows the defense is an area of concern, and that's been one of those areas you can see him really trying to pound it into his guys, like, we need to be better on this if we want to be hoisting a trophy at the end of the year.
Scotty, let's bring you into this conversation, and what do you have to say about Ursuline? I mean, you brought him up, so obviously I think you have some opinions.
Yeah, I do. I think not to exactly echo Ty 100% of what he said, but I think as long as you're winning in the regular season, to Ty's point, for the most part, in the regular season, you're fine. But I don't know. It's one of those things like I don't know if Ursuline truly knows if they have an identity yet on defense. They may be still trying to tweak some things and figure things out here. Like, do you play man and press more and blitz more, or do you fall back into that zone? That's something I want to see from this Ursuline team going forward, because that offense is so good. Are they gonna, just say, we're gonna go mostly zone on defense and we'll give you all the underneath stuff, but take away any of the big plays because our offense is so good? I think they could go that route. What do you guys think?
I feel like Coach Reardon's obviously going to have some tricks up his sleeve come playoff time. I think there's no doubt about that. And what I want to see Coach Reardon honestly kind of do, if he could slow down, like I said, those outside runs, those are the biggest things. And we see it week in and week out. We saw it at Fitch. We saw it at Harding last week. When backs get the ball and get it to the outside edge of the defensive line of Ursuline, it's almost all gravy from there, and it's all extra yards. And Ursuline having trouble trying to figure out how to stop those outside runs. And I worry about that going into the playoffs, because if teams are establishing that, getting big chunk plays on running plays, and they have to throw in a few passes in there, it opens up the passing game a lot now for high school teams. So it's definitely one area of the game that I feel like I'd rather Ursuline shut down the run game completely and play 50-50 with the pass, because I feel like they can outpass anybody in their division in the state. I'm more concerned about them trying to slow down and stop the run, because they also have a good back end there too, and DeMarcus McElroy too. So I think their offense is fine to match points, but you got to stop and attack it defensively where you're getting hurt the most. And I see where you're getting hurt the most has definitely been in the run game.
And we'll take this time to just remind people, I mean, this broke on our socials and our website yesterday, but for those of you that didn't know, it happened after our show went off the air yesterday. Ursuline and Cheney has been canceled due to COVID-19 protocols in Cheney's program. So Ursuline is actively looking for a game for Friday night.
I'm hearing Beaver Local too being the Murmurs. I don't know what the status is on that, but both being the same division, you feel like that would be a matchup that would work too, and a matchup that would be fun to see.
They both had their games canceled. They're both in the same region. It kind of makes sense, but you got to work it out. So we'll see. We'll see. Scotty. Oh, here comes DJ. Maybe some news.
Maybe. Let's see. The owner's coming on.
We do have some breaking news at this hour. Beaver Local found an opponent they're going to play Friday. It's going to be Lutheran East at Beaver Local. So they get the home game out of it after all. So that's exciting for Beaver Local. They got some good competition. So Lutheran East at Beaver Local. Mike McKenzie will obviously have the call for you on Friday. So Beaver Local finds an opponent. Ursuline's still searching, and searching hard because it's one of those you don't want to lose a game at this point in the season with the way they're playing. So there's some news for you, boys.
Well, there you go.
Very
Some
much.
good news too. We like the good news that DJ gets to bring.
And that it helps us too before we get too down the rabbit hole of the possibility of Beaver Local versus Ursuline.
Right. You know what?
We kind
Let's-
of get it shut down on us real quick. And I mean, unfortunate that we won't get that dream matchup, but very good news though that Beaver Local is still going to be playing this week. Going to have that game Friday, and they've been rolling along too. So it's good to see them get a game. But to DJ's point, I want to see Ursuline still get a game for this week.
I don't want to cut too much further into Scotty's time, but you wonder, do you even want to play a team that's going to be in your region anyway that you probably might see in the playoffs? You want to show them stuff and give them a second matchup in the playoffs. I don't know. They might have wanted to not do that.
Yeah, maybe. I looked at it from the other point of view and thought maybe if you're Beaver Local, you get a look at Ursuline before the playoffs. That's kind of a nice thing. But hey, point is Beaver Local has an opponent. They're playing Friday, and that's all that matters.
Scotty, I know you're itching to talk a little bit professional sports. So what's on your mind in the professional realm?
Yeah, just real quickly, we'll spend just a few minutes because I do want to spend a solid 10 seeing if I could stump the tie today. I've done it twice, but that's it. I feel like I got some good ones in the chamber, but I always feel that way. And then, I sit here and I'm like, Ty's not human. But anyway, just really quickly, I just wanted to know from you guys, NFL-wise, Ty being a Pats fan, obviously Anthony, we talked a lot. We know about your Chiefs fandom, and I couldn't say anything after week 1 because your Chiefs beat my Brownies again. But were you, with the way things started, Anthony, especially after the Honey Badger had 2 picks early on, and it looked like your offense was just going to be unstoppable and rolling. It looks like you had Lamar Jackson maybe rattled a little bit again. It is 1 loss, but how concerned are you? Are you really concerned at all at this point, or do you just chalk it up as 1 loss? Is there anywhere you think the Chiefs need to improve most? And for Ty, do you gain any confidence as a Pats fan beating the Jets after they lost that one to Miami where they made a lot of mistakes? So I'll start with let Anthony go first.
I think Andy Reid said it best in his post-game press conference when 2 good teams play each other. Stuff's gonna happen. You have to be able to make the small detail plays because both teams are really good. They're both gonna take advantage of mistakes, and the Chiefs just made too many mistakes on the field. 2 turnovers and 2 bad timings. You had lousy would be an understatement as far as the run defense is concerned for Kansas City. Situational football wasn't great. Ravens beat us. I'll still say this. The Ravens are not my biggest fear come playoff time. Because I think,
Is it my Browns?
The Browns are higher than the Ravens. I'll put it that way.
Okay. But I got a feeling that Pittsburgh for some
Pittsburgh
reason
scares me too because I think Pittsburgh and Cleveland are both built to beat a team like Kansas City. Now, Pittsburgh didn't have a good week too, but I still think that, with the defense, with the ability to rush forward and still get to the quarterback, the Ravens abandoned putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They were just like, we're not going to blitz. We're gonna drop 8 back, and the Chiefs still scored 35 on them. So I don't know if the Ravens have figured out what they want to do on defense. They know they tried to blitz last year and it didn't work at all, and the Ravens love the blitz. And then they were decided, for the first time in a long time, let's not blitz the quarterback. And I don't think their defense could be particularly happy with that performance. I mean, 35 points is still there, and really, if you didn't force a fumble, the Chiefs probably win that game. So,
I think, Marcus, not to interrupt Anthony, but I think losing Marcus Peters for the season is a huge loss for that Ravens team. I don't know if they'll be able to fully recover from that this year. I know there's a lot of football left.
Well, if you can't recover from one guy getting hurt, then that's a reflection on your team and the depth. I mean, now the Ravens have a lot of injuries, not just Marcus Peters. I think they have like 15 people on the IR right now. But if you're going to say Marcus Peters is the difference between us going to the Super Bowl and us not, then I think that's also a reflection on your team. I mean, Marcus Peters isn't the quarterback. I mean, we're talking Lamar Jackson. That's good. I mean, a lot of teams say if we lose our quarterback, we're in a tight spot. If Mahomes goes down, the Chiefs' chances of going to the Super Bowl go dramatically down. But we're talking about a cornerback. So if you lose Marcus Peters and you're saying, well, now our defense can't hold up, then maybe the defense wasn't elite in the first place. I don't know. Ty, I'll let you talk about the Pats real quick.
Yeah, talking about the Pats, I mean, very simple, very short and sweet. We lost Tom Brady. One of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback of all time, but we didn't lose our team, and we're still a very good team. We're a better team than the Jets on paper. I still believe that going into the season, and new quarterbacks have never done good against Bill Belichick, and again, Zach Wilson proved that against Belichick and that Patriots defense. Not worried about the Pats this year. I kind of feel like we're still treading water, but I think we beat a team that we should beat, and I hope to continue seeing us beat teams that we should beat each and every week.
Just a real quick yes or no before I get into your questions, Ty. Do you think the Patriots, do you think they'll be in it as far as do you think they could match up with the Bills and even the Dolphins, who the Bills just blew out and you lost to? Do you think they'll be in the divisional championship conversation, or do you think they're a year or two away? Just yes or no?
I think they're a year or two away, but don't be surprised if they are, because the Bills aren't as good as everyone's hyping them up to be.
Okay.
All right, Scotty, you got it's 12:22. We'll get you out of here at 12:32. You have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Clock starts now.
Okay, so here we go. I feel like this one's a softball to start, especially if you watched the games last year between these two teams. But Ty, I wanted to know from you, and again, my apologies if I asked you this already. I don't think I asked you. I think I asked DJ, and he was able to get this one. But I was wondering if you would be able to. So my first question is, when was the last time the Browns beat the Steelers twice in the same season?
And it's always my job to fill this dramatic silence as Ty begins to think on his words. Ty, you have no lifelines left.
Those wheels are spinning.
And this question is for 250,000 Skittles. Ba-da-da-da. Hey, I'll take this time to remind people that our comment section is live. Ty can't see the comments until I put them up. So if you have an answer and you think you know the answer, put it up, and then I'll angrily smirk at Ty while he stresses for the answer while I have it right there on the screen. Ty, we should probably do something where Okay, here we go.
The last time I remember, and the only time that would have made sense that the Browns would have beaten the Steelers twice, because I know Ben Roethlisberger era, I don't believe it happened another time since Ben's been there. So you got to go even further back. And I'm thinking like 80s Browns. And the last time, I'm trying to think of a year where the Browns were probably a lot better than the Steelers. I want to say like, because they clinched the AFC Central in 87 when it was the Central. I remember them beating Pittsburgh to clinch the AFC Central in 87. So they were able to do that. Did they win both games against Pittsburgh the year after in 88? I want to say I think they did in 88 as well, and I don't think so. I don't think they did the year after.
Scotty's hurting.
I feel like it's 1988.
Is it 88?
You are correct.
12-2. Ty takes the 10-point lead, and Scotty's got another question on the barrel.
I'm demoralized again, but I do have another one here. Give me all the years that the Browns played.
Browns trivia today.
That the Browns played on Thanksgiving. Every year they played on Thanksgiving, and how many times did the Browns win?
So just to clarify, you want every time the Browns have played on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And which years they've won.
Yeah.
This one might be, I mean, that's really tough. Oh, man. Ty, I think you're in trouble, bud. But I don't bet against Ty, so. Take this time to remind people that later on in the show, 12:45, we'll have Penny DeShields, the head volleyball coach at West Branch, the 12-1 West Branch Warriors. Going to talk to her about a little bit about last night's game, but a little bit more about her career. She has 300 career wins now at the helm of West Branch. So excited to talk to her at 12:45. Brian Tolnar coming up at 1 o'clock as well. So we do have a packed show for you as Ty continues to mull this one over.
So my question is, we're talking Browns. We're not talking Cleveland Rams, right? Because I know the Cleveland Rams have also played on Thanksgiving. Are we talking just Browns when they became part of the NFL?
Look at Ty.
It is just Browns.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I'm pretty sure the Cleveland Rams have also played in a Thanksgiving game. So it has to be. They haven't played one, I don't think, recently, and it has to be Dallas or Detroit that they played. And I'm trying to think of the years they would have played Dallas or Detroit that would have made sense, either lining up in a division or when they played those teams that year. I want to say the last time the Browns were in a Thanksgiving game, again, I want to say that came in the 80s, and I feel like it was late 80s. And I feel like the Browns have played it hasn't been since the 80s, and before that 64 to the 80s would have been the years that the Browns would have been able to play it. So then I want to say they did it twice in the 80s, I think, because they played both Dallas and Detroit in the 80s, and I want to say prior to that they played Dallas another time in the 60s, and I think the Browns have never won a Thanksgiving game day.
You're correct with all of that, but what were the years?
Oh,
he wants
geez.
exact.
Now he wants the exact.
He's not.
I know they're 0-3. All right. So late 80s. It wasn't the same year they won back-to-back with Pittsburgh. I think it was the year after. So I think 89 was definitely
is 89 one of them?
89 is one of them.
Oh, my God.
If you get these other two, I might this segment might be done, man.
There's one in the 60s.
Yeah, there's another one in the 80s, too.
Yeah, there's two in the 80s, and I'm having trouble thinking of the other one in the 80s, and I'm thinking about the one in the 60s right now. I feel like 19. Well, it wouldn't have been. Well, no, actually, it wouldn't have been 64 because that was the last time they won a thing. So they came in 65, which means that I think 66 was their first time they played an NFL game, so NFL Thanksgiving game. So it's 66 and 89, And now there's one in
66
between
answer.
those that I'm having a lot of trouble thinking of, though.
So he's got 2 out of 3.
I got 2 out of 3 so far.
You know, you have 81 through 88. I mean, that's a 1 in 7 chance.
I know, and I might just take a guess on it, honestly. I might just throw one down because, I mean, I'm trying to think if there was really a time that made that they would have, because
I mean,
80s.
they play every 4 years in that division, right? So, I mean, you got to think it. I don't want to help you, but
Yeah.
I'm helping you at this point because you've already got 2 out of 3 and flexed your muscles.
If you get this last year in the 80s, man, I just you're a douchebag.
Ty, you're eating up Scotty's clock.
The only one that I could think of, and it seems like it's such a Brown story, and I'm pretty sure Jimmy Hanlon did a history documentary or something when it was back on Sports Time Ohio. And if I have to take a guess, I'm going to say it's in a strike-shortened season of 1982 that the Browns played in Thanksgiving Day. And that's the only guess I have, and I'm sticking with it.
1982? Sniped.
Threw his hand up.
Oh no, my headphones are off.
I had to think about that one long and hard, and you know what, Scotty? Those are the questions I like because you almost had me. I was on the edge of my seat right now thinking I did not think I was getting that last one.
We have time for one more, right?
I think you should go with Dave's that he brought out in the studio.
Yeah, I'm going with one of the ones that Dave helped me with here. How many footballs, Ty, must the home team provide to the referees for each NFL game?
Before the game, they have to provide X amount of balls.
I know this one. I know this one because of the Deflategate. It's 24.
Yep, he got it. 24.
It's 24. Deflategate brought out all those rules and stats about how much pressure needs to be in the football, how many footballs need to be on each team. So, yeah, I think I remember it was 24 from each team from Deflategate.
See,
he got it.
You got it.
If he wasn't a Patriots fan, he wouldn't have gotten that.
You probably would have. That one is a lot more obscure that I don't think I would have been able to think of. Should have came out with how many baseballs does each team bring to the ballpark.
So what's like the tally now? How many is he up on me?
That's like 13-2 now.
Yeah, he's.
No, actually, that was 14-2.
All I have is a safety taking me out to the woodshed. Well, thank you guys again.
Oh, DJ's got one.
This is a little bit of common knowledge here, but Ty, I want to know how many stitches are on a baseball in the major leagues.
$108, right?
108.
Yep.
108. You got it.
I was getting slipped up. I was like, is this a trick question? Because 108 first popped in my mind. I was like, I don't think that's a number for anything else. But no, Scotty, I like that question. That was a good loaded question. I'd rather you bring some loaded questions on like that one, because I'll tell you.
Name the last non-Chinese athlete to win a gold medal in ping pong in the Olympics.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think you got me on that one. Congrats. You got one on me. Because unless I study those ones beforehand or know to study it or think to study it beforehand, some I'm not going to be able to get. Scotty, good questions, though. Real good questions today. You really had to make me think on the one.
You got to get real sadistic with these trivia questions, Scotty.
Yeah,
He brought out a 6-part question. I had to write an essay to come up with the last one.
I'll get even. This is only the beginning. Gonna get tougher.
Oh, I'm excited for it, Scotty. I know you have the capabilities of being able to stump me. You've done it twice before. I think you got it in you.
This is always a fun time of the week. We're going to take a quick break on YSN. We'll be back. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. It is Wednesday, and then we are on a Wednesday edition. We just got through with Scotty trying as he might to stump the mighty Ty in trivia, but he had no luck. and he is now down 14-2 total tally. Ugh.
Yeah, just continuing to build that lead. I feel like I'm gonna need it.
Ty, post-game press conference. How do you feel?
I'm just here so I don't get fined. No, no, I'm just, I feel like I gotta take those points when I can get them, because I feel like Scotty, as we get later in the year and later in this show, he's gonna start coming with a lot tougher trivia for me. So it's gonna get a lot tougher going forward.
I got one in the tank for him next week that I'm gonna help him with. I think it's gonna be a good one.
You're gonna help him out with it now? Hey man, he came out with that good one. I almost got stumped on that Browns one. I was really thinking about it up until I remembered the strike shortened season, and I feel like there was a connection with that.
I can't even believe that you knew the last time the Browns played on Thanksgiving was 1988 or 1989 or whatever. I can't remember. You just said it 10 minutes ago.
It's because there's a lot of Browns. There was Browns fans in my house too. So it's like I had resources around me. My dad was a huge Browns fan, loved talking about it. So he still is a huge Browns fan. He went to Green Bay he was a Green Bay fan too for a bit too, because that's like his second team when the Browns were going through their times. But yeah.
So what would he do if the Packers and the Browns play each other in the Super Bowl?
I think he's a Browns fan all the way then at that point.
Now he is, of course.
Yeah. There's I think it's the same case as like DJ's sweetheart team being the Colts. I feel like you could have those sweetheart teams too. Mine kind of is the Browns too. I kind of root them along, but they play the Patriots. I'm Pats all day, 100%. Always will be.
Oh man, we are excited. In just a minute, we're going to be joined by Penny DeShields, the head coach of the West Branch volleyball team, who earned her 300th career win in the West Branch program last week. We'll talk to her about that and a little bit about last night's game. It was a tough one for the Warriors. Marlington came out and just played extremely high-level volleyball. I was doing the broadcast. If you were able to watch, it was a perfect pass, perfect set, right to the hitter almost every time. It was a show by Marlington, and West Branch probably uses it as a measuring stick. They'll get Marlington again, and now they know where they stand.
Yeah, it's very hard, too, to go undefeated in a volleyball season and go rattle off that many straight victories. So there's a lot of teams that we saw drop their first game this week, and there's no shame in that, too. When everyone makes the playoffs and you're already going to be seated, I think, relatively high in your division, sometimes that's good. You can learn a lot more from a loss than you can from wins in a lot of cases. And I think this is a case where West Branch can get a lot better depending on what they learn from this loss to Marlington. And if they patch up the right things that need to be patched up, well, look out, because the Warriors are coming back just as strong.
West Branch is 12-1 on the year. Marlington now is 10-2. Their two losses are to Tusky Valley, who went to Canfield on Saturday and made them look, kind of mediocre, which, that just shows you how good Tusky Valley is. Always a Division III powerhouse, and they lost Tusky Valley in 4 sets, and then they lost to the reigning Division II district champion, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, in 5 sets. So Marlington does have 2 losses, but they're to 2 really high-powered programs.
Has also handed Fitch's first loss of the year earlier in the season. Fitch now 11-1 after winning against Howland last night. So, has beaten some very notable programs. That Marlington squad over there, they're a tough one, and they're going to be a tough bunch to beat. But a couple of teams now getting to face them, getting a little bit of a book on them. Let's see if they're able to make those adjustments come later in the season or come tournament time.
There were a lot of volleyball scores last night, a lot of soccer scores. Head over to ysnlive.com to get all the results and scores of those games. I know Lakeview got a big win to keep trying to keep pace with Girard in the 8, hoping that Girard stubs their toe somewhere. They did not last night, but that's all Lakeview can do at this point is keep winning and hope that Girard has trouble with somebody. Let's see. I know East Palestine got the 3-2 win over United. Wellsville 3-0 win over Lisbon. Springfield got the 4-set win over Waterloo. Western Reserve, they keep rolling in the MVAC. They get the win. McDonald stays hot after their upset of Western Reserve last week. They get the win as well. So a lot of good volleyball scores and results. Soccer as well. Canfield boys get the shutout over Fitch 3-0. And we already talked about Boardman winning over Howland 4-2. Crestview got a big win. Their boys continue to be playing well on the soccer pitch. So all those results, scores, and recaps on ysnlive.com. Head over to our website and check them all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Has a lot of scores, a lot of big games in the Valley last night. So definitely go check out. I'm sure we have stories written for a boatload of them too. So games that were happening last week to this week. So,
as we get ready for a penny to shield, so just look at the big dogs of the Valley and get an update on where the voting is at on that. So football total, remember it was at like 2,700 last yesterday on our show. Right now it's at 10,312. So it's went up 8,000 in just a day. Volleyball is at 4,834. So the last 2 weeks, volleyball had been ruling the roost, but football taking a big lead so far on the volleyball side. So
yeah, taking a big jump. We're at 15,000, but hey, I mean, still got a little bit of ways to go to cross that 100,000 threshold again. We're going to need to get those votes up. Get out there and vote for your favorite student athlete, and let's get them some big dog honors.
We need more. Let's see if I wanted to get to what we're at 15,000. Let's see if we can get it up to 16,000 before the end of the show. Calling YSN Nation out. Let's go get out some votes.
16,000 in an hour and 15, give or so, some change. I think that would be able to do it.
Absolutely. Let's remind us, people, of the nominees in case they don't know. If you don't, I don't know what you're doing, but hey, if you don't. Football, Devin Sherwood from Fitch, Rockland Batura from Crestview, TC Caffey from Hubbard, and then you have Jack Fulton from Poland, Brock Lowry from Canfield, and Stephen Mara from West Branch. On the volleyball side, Elena Scavina from Mooney, Blake Thomas from Sebring, Jamie DeSalvo from Howland, Presley Stokes from Wellsville, Peyton Silvesco from Hubbard, and Montana McGranahan from Garrettsville Garfield. So get out, get some votes in. 16,000 by the end of the show, hopefully. We'll check it again before we get out of here and see how close we get.
Yeah, I think we should be able to do that too. I think the YSN Nation should be able to get another 1,000 votes in there in the next hour.
Yeah, come on. We believe in you. Want to take this time to also remind people that the comment section is live. We didn't get a fan question out. Ty, you got it today. So what's the fan question on this Wednesday as we head into the last hour of the show for the comment section?
Yes.
Boardman Mitsubishi.
So after the big upset of Boardman over Howland last night in the soccer realm, I'm going to ask, what is the biggest upset you've ever seen in any high school sport? But if we want to keep it fall sports, volleyball, soccer, and football, we can. But I'm curious, high school-wise, what is the biggest upset or biggest shock victory you've ever been in attendance for, where one team was the powerhouse and the other team was able to come in and upset them?
Well, what about you? What's yours?
So for me, it's easily going to be back in 2013 when the Falcons went undefeated that season. And I go back to this game and being there for it when they played Massillon, Washington, and Massillon being the powerhouse that they are every year. No one was giving us a chance that year because it was early on in the season. I think we were 3-0, and I think it was a battle of two 3-0 teams. And everyone was obviously, we know what Massillon, Washington does. We know what Massillon does each and every year, but Fitch kind of came in. Wasn't a passing team. It was a very run-forward team at the time. And they were able to come away, beat them on, I believe, a blocked extra point by the Falcons that was able to get them beat the Massillon Tigers by 1 and not send the game into overtime. That was one of the biggest games, I think, for the Falcons at the time, because we were a Division I opponent and we just beat a huge we were a Division I school at the time, and we beat a huge Massillon, Washington team that was one of the more successful programs in the state.
I have to kind of think on this for a minute because, there's so many, you go back through the years and there are so many options. And
another one you want from me, I'll go basketball-wise. I'll talk Sebring and Springfield in basketball this past year. And Sebring,
did you call that?
I did call that one. And Springfield looking to be division champs. And Springfield was one of those teams. They just beat Waterloo in a very good Kyle Shockley 2 nights prior to get them to that point. And they came in, Sebring did, and Sebring has Springfield's number, especially on Trojans court, and we're able to do it. And I remember Matt Bird, I'll never forget the fadeaway 3 from the corner that he splashed home for a victory. And I mean, you want to talk about sending a gymnasium into an absolute roar. That was huge. Michael Pellini from Mooney, too. Big shot over Waterloo in the playoffs. Not necessarily an upset victory, but still another one of those big shots. But I think there's been some upsets in every sport that we've seen in the past few years. And I mean, it doesn't even need to be a huge glaring discrepancy. And one team, they might be able to compete and there might be a rivalry, but there's those games where we know if a team's having a good season, they probably should win this game, and they don't, and that other team able to get the book on them when it seems like nobody else was able to.
Well, I just have to go to my sentimental one, and in high school, I was real close to the South Range girls basketball program. I made a documentary about them for my senior project, and it just worked out. So you can't write a documentary. That's the thing. Like you're just filming what happens. And at that time, United was one of the premier girls basketball programs in the area. They had Roger Ziegler coaching them, and they were really good. South Range hadn't beaten them since my freshman season, so it was 3 years, one tournament game. So I think 7 games total because they beat them in the first matchup my senior year by like 15 points. They blew South Range out of the water in South Range. So South Range goes to United like 10 days later because I think the first matchup was rescheduled because of a snow day or whatever. So they went and played each other at South Range. United won handedly. And then 10 days later, they went to United. And that South Range team came away with the win, the big win over United. And they tied them in the ITCL. They split that year and shared the ITCL championship. It was a big moment for me and for the documentary that I was making and all my friends on that team. So I'm going to go with that one, South Range beating United in girls basketball at the Eagles Nest back in 2011.
Big wins too. And I mean, I think we've all been a part of them, or you might be on the receiving end of it where your team was the powerhouse.
I know DJ remembers East Palestine beating South Range in football, and that's going to be
there's those big ones too. I mean, I think as sports fans, you're pretty much on both sides of it because as many of those exciting games I've seen, I've been on the fan side of it too. When I was in high school, where it was a game where it was like Falcons should win this one, they're supposed to win this one. And it was like, man,
and then they blew a 28-3 lead at halftime.
Yeah,
not those Falcons.
Yeah. Couldn't keep up with it. No, that was a good Falcons loss. That's the only time I'll be happy about a Falcons loss, I think, is if they come from Atlanta. But no, not my Austintown Falcons. And I'm starting to be defensive of the Jefferson Falcons a little bit too. Starting to become another one of those sweetheart teams for me that I'm starting to like.
Jefferson's really smart because they just went and used the Atlanta logo. So you can just go get an Atlanta Falcons hat and you're wearing Jefferson gear. It's that simple. I mean,
there you go. Double up with it too. You're a Jefferson Falcon at first, and then you go to an Atlanta Falcon after. If only they could be a Bowling Green Falcon in between, you could be a Falcon for life.
We have a Bowling Green hat in the studio. We're set.
We're Falcons for life here.
Oh my. Another one. I was talking to DJ about it because you're a Pats fan. You can. There have been many years in that Pats dynasty, decade run with Tom Brady, where beginning of the season, first couple weeks or maybe the first half of the season, they lose some games that maybe they shouldn't lose, or teams that are trying to poke at them, like the Chiefs did in week 2. There have been times when the Patriots in the first half of the season lose some games against teams that are trying to dethrone them, and you bring that up,
as much. And you know what, I don't want to talk professional too, but
I brought up back, and I believe it was 17. The Chiefs went to Foxborough in week 1 with Alex Smith and Kareem Hunt, and blew the doors off of.
You did, and that was the worst case of Monday morning quarterbacks I've ever seen. Because I will say, as much as I love the Patriots, as much as I love the organization, as big of a supporter of Bill Belichick with his local ties as I am, Patriots fans have some of the worst Monday morning quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Because I remember after that game, they were all talking about need to get rid of Brady. Father Time's finally caught up to him.
You know what?
He went to the Super Bowl and threw for 500 yards in the biggest game of the year that year.
Right.
So that's all I have to say about that.
I think the biggest time I remember Tom Brady getting that kind of criticism in the bulk of his career What? Remember that game in Arrowhead? I keep bringing up the Chiefs, but there was a game in Arrowhead where he didn't look good. He threw like 4 picks. They benched him, and like the Monday after, I remember everyone, ESPN, everyone was just being like, Tom Brady's done. You know, it was one game though. It's like, come on.
And I mean, it's just media. A lot of media outlets trying to create stories is the biggest thing.
I think they won the Super Bowl that year too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the biggest thing. I always say, wait till the end of the season, and that's what it's great because you want to shrink it down to a high school level. You want to shrink it down to another team, and hell, we even were a little bit guilty of it here on YSN, and because we try to make those storylines too because it's kind of our job. It makes us interesting. But Springfield, losing that first game to South Range, everyone was kind of talking, is this the same Springfield team of old? Are they going to be able to get back there? I think they're answering all those questions right now.
We talked about it even more after week 2 when they won, but didn't exactly look great against Springfield.
But again, I think it just comes in to remind us, wait till the end of the season and let's see where the teams are then. Because, I mean, we already know week 1 to week 10, a lot of stuff can happen in that stretch of time.
I think this week, maybe some Salem fans being a little bit too overly cautious. I mean, that was
a lot. One loss is one loss, and there have been plenty of state championship teams that have won the title with a loss on their record. So it is not out of the realm of possibility, and it's not out of question that your team can still make it to the big show and hoist a trophy at the end of the year because they have a loss.
I think the Howland soccer team is proof that no matter how good you are or how great or dominant you are, your athletes, whether they're in high school, professional, college, they're human. They're going to have some bad games. They're going to make some mistakes. And, it happens. And the goal is to not have it happen in the tournament or in the state championship or in the playoffs. So
if you have a long career in any sport, you're not going undefeated unless it's boxing. Unless it's boxing and you're Floyd Mayweather. Like
Michael Jordan has had bad games. Tom Brady has had bad games. The greats have had bad games. It happens. You just got to kind of.
I mean, and that's the biggest thing, right? It's about how you're able to adjust from it. And we see the great teams do it all the time. We'll see what Salem's able to do. I think they'll be able to respond well. But Springfield, did it promptly. Poland now in a case too, where maybe Poland is a little bit more of an interesting case because there might be a little bit more weight to Poland's shoulders now.
The fact is, there are still some teams on Poland's schedule that they need to really, suit up for too. Like it's not like, okay, we played South Range and Hubbard the rest of the season, it should be winnable games. There are some teams on that schedule still that Poland better buckle their chin straps for.
Yeah, especially when you play in that tough NE8 and we see Jefferson and Girard emerging as real serious contenders right now. And all of a sudden you got to remember, oh, wow, we got to play those two. Niles ain't half bad.
Struthers on the ball really well too.
Struthers is not a terrible team either. I mean, I know both those teams, both South Range and now Hubbard playing Struthers and able to handle them. But Struthers has already proven that they're able to win against some teams and be competitive against some teams. And I think that's a program that's continuing to build up as well.
So unfortunately, we have not heard from Penny DeShields, and we are trying to get a hold of her. She was scheduled for 12:45. We'll work on it. But we're going to
We'll definitely try to get her on at some point if we can today. We hope everything's okay, though, over in the DeShields house.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Brian Tolnar coming up at 1 o'clock on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
in storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air,
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
online,
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
on social media, and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to the Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. It's Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Mr. Ty Bartell. And, you know, we are going to be joined by one of our favorites and in our golf guru at Mill Creek Park, Brian Tolnar. Brian, season finale here in season 2 of our segment with you. Thank you for coming on.
My heart, it's breaking right now as we have to say bye to Brian on Wednesdays, but
you know what, Ty? It's not a series finale; it's a season finale.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to see him in the future, but we love having Brian on every Wednesday.
Yeah, hard to believe we're at the end of the rainbow here for the golf season. So it's, you know, we talked about high school football last week, hitting that half the season mark, and the golf season's pretty much there right now on the downhill, but. Plenty of good weather coming up through Thanksgiving. A lot of golf to be played this fall, and you know, hopefully we'll be able to ride the momentum and keep it rolling. So we always appreciate you guys having us on. The relationship we've had here with YSN and Mill Creek, the Metro Parks, and the golf course has been spectacular. It's been a lot of fun doing this series, and I look forward to it as we move forward in the future. And unfortunately, there's no PGA Tour left after the Ryder Cup this week, so we'll see what we can do. You know, from January, February when the season kicks off again.
You know, the high school golf scene has slowed down a little bit this week, but the sectionals start next week, and I know there are a lot of teams that are looking forward to a very successful tournament run. Talk about some of the teams and some of the players that fans should really keep an eye on in sectionals and going on in the districts.
Well, I think locally here, what you got to look for is on the girls' side. I would say Ursuline coming off their win at the Christine Treleski Memorial Invitational at the Lake Club this past week. They're certainly riding some momentum as we head into sectionals and districts and have an opportunity to qualify for the state tournament in October. They're one at the top of the list from a girls team. Boardman girls, winning the AAC last week. Knocking off a few wins this past week and last Friday with a couple of their matches that were rain makeup matches, which is basically what we're in this last week here, sort of the gray area before the sectional start next week and the week after, depending upon what division that you're in. But I think Boardman girls locally, they're head and shoulders above the rest. Ursuline has been substantially a lot better than the competition in the area as well. So I think, both of those two teams, I think on the girls side, have some ability to, make it out of sectionals, make it through districts and possibly qualify. You've got the rap girl from Cardinal Mooney, who's made it for 4 years in a row. They don't have a team this year for the girls. I think she could qualify as an individual and make it a fourth trip for 4 straight for her. She's played exceptionally well. I know that their family is looking at colleges, and they had a practice out here when we were having our Youngstown State Roseanne Schwartz Invitational a couple weeks ago, and they were looking at the board and some of the places that they've been talking to. They wanted to see how they were doing. The girls teams from a collegiate perspective, because she's in that realm of looking for a place to play collegiately through the reins of golf. On the boys' side, Canfield has probably been historically a little bit more superior than the rest this season. They played a number of 18-hole championships that sets them apart compared to some of the other teams in the Valley. Boardman boys AAC champions as well. They've played and grown as a team from start to finish here. I want to say the last couple of years, and I think that their future's bright with what they have, going forward. But I think, this class, that there's a time to, sort of raise that bar and continue on the legacy of Coach Brian Terleski and what he's been able to do for the boys program at Boardman. I think they certainly have a shot of getting out as well. You got the Porter kid from McDonald who's played well. We brought up Waterloo a couple weeks ago, so I started paying attention to them a little bit. I tell you what, out of all the teams I want to say in this region, top to bottom, and I look at what is the 3, 4, 5, and 6 players doing on your team, knowing that only 5 can play when you go to sectionals and districts. You're going to need that depth. You're going to need to have at least 4 good players in your lineup, as opposed to not having that 6th and the fifth player in there. So, as you decrease the roster by a number, you have to have that depth in the 3, 4, and 5 spot. And I think Waterloo, based on, the numbers that I could see and how their matches and some of the invitationals that they played in, they probably have the strongest of the 3, 4, 5, and 6 players out of anybody that I've looked at on paper. Now, playing 18 holes is different than playing 9-hole matches. It takes stamina. You're playing in conditions that are, not like what these players have seen during the summer, where you get the roll and you get the golf ball flying at its maximum peak, from a distance perspective. They're going to be playing in softer conditions. You're going to be playing in a lot of wind. You're going to be playing in rain, conditions that we are seeing on today, very fall-like, where it's cooler. The ball doesn't quite fly as far. So how their 9-hole scores translate in 18 is going to be the biggest question mark, not only with Waterloo, but the rest of the programs, in our region. There's a number of players that can qualify individually. I think from a team's perspective, those are probably the 4 staples that I would go with in knowing, growth and where they started a couple years ago to where they are at in their program right now. To making a nice long run as we get in sectionals and districts play to have an opportunity to play at state.
My question for you, Brian, and with this being the last episode, I kind of want to look to that future a little bit. I want to talk to you a little bit about the area coverage we've been able to get with golf and how YSN and how you yourself too is helping with that area coverage. What is kind of the ultimate goal, and where do you want to see the improvements of area coverage of local high school golfers, both at the college and high school level, I should say, continue to improve?
Well, I think you guys have certainly been the kickstart of something that I've always wanted to see with the game of golf. Obviously, growing up playing golf and basketball and football and everything, every sport that I had opportunity to play, it seems like the spotlight's always been on those major sports. So to be able to do something, the greatest golfer of the Valley, having the junior portion, didn't have that when I was a kid, having the junior tournaments, having the coverage that they get and the exposure that they have given the past couple of years to really grow and expand the sport and make the sport popular from a media perspective, to be able to do what we've done back and forth and be able to talk, on a weekly basis, with what the teams are doing in their 9-hole matches, what they're doing in their league championships, who we think is going to be viable candidates for sectionals, districts, and be able to go past the regular season. I think is one of the areas that YSN and what you guys have done has really raised that bar. And I think, we can continue to work to get there, but I think just giving it exposure and just giving it some popularity from a whole gets more kids interested in playing our sport, gets more kids interested in playing in second grade, third grade, fourth grade, seventh and eighth grade. So when they come time to qualify for the high school golf team, there's a pick of the litter of 20 kids as opposed to just enough to get a starting lineup out there. We've seen some local programs have some issues with fielding a lineup or fielding a team this year. And we shouldn't have to see that with the number of kids that are coming through our junior camps at 90 and 100 players throughout the course of the summer. Now, obviously, those are dispersed between a bunch of different school districts, but it shouldn't have to be that hard to get kids to go out for the golf team. I think it's a viable option for, number one, higher education and getting a collegiate scholarship, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3. I think the focus is there and the opportunity is there for both boys and girls. And I think if we promote it and we continue to build upon what we started this year, especially at the YSN level, the media level, I think it's going to do nothing but grow our game substantially. And I think it just brings more people to the table. We always talk about growing our customer base, and the pie is only so big here in the Mahoning Valley. So, to be able to expand to regional play and to be able to expand to stay and play at the golf course, we have to find that vehicle, which is the same for junior golf, to not only expand here, but to expand in junior golf, to have them be able to play, tournaments, whether it's regionally, state, or nationally. We got to be able to grow that pie a little bit bigger. And what you guys have done and the folks at YSN from top to bottom and allowing us to be a part of the show and promote the game of golf in the Mahoning Valley, I think is vital to the long-term longevity of this sport. And I think we've been able to see that, it takes every step on the ladder to get hit before you can get to the top. And we're gradually climbing there. You can't skip any steps, and you have to be able to build a good solid foundation before you can continue on to make it what we want to see. And I think we're, 10 steps into something that's very, very special here with promotion of the game. And, basically, relaying the mission statement here at the Metro Parks to junior golf and high school golf and collegiate golf, and what YSU has been able to do. I think going forward, I'd love to be able to get some coaches and some players on the show, and have a fitness little segment or a role segment. I mean, the sky's the limit on what we can do, and I think everybody's on the same page for what we want to see. And I think that there's going to be some neat things coming down the pipe for what we want to do and what we want to bring to expand and grow this game in the Mahoning Valley.
You talk about things that are coming down the pipe, and this might be the season finale, but we're going to see you again real soon on October 19th, because you guys have the PGA Hope program going on, and we're proud to be just a small part of it. Talk a little bit about what's going to be going on the 19th at Mill Creek, and how proud you are to kind of host this program.
Well, it'll be our first annual PGA Hope program here at the Mill Creek Metro Parks, and more importantly for the Youngstown area of the state of Ohio. Considering that there's only one other program that's been done in our region in northeastern Ohio, the Northern Ohio PGA section, and that's at Clearview and in Canton with a good friend, Renee Powell, who's a PGA Hall of Famer running that event. It's been around for a number of years, what she's done for veterans and disabled veterans, getting them into the game of golf as a vehicle to, really give them a relaxing sport or a release from stepping away from war and overseas and all the stuff that they have to go through from a military standpoint. So it's our way here at the Metro Parks to thank those who served and give us our freedoms to be able to come on shows like this and talk and be able to play sports in a country that I think is more superior than any in the world. So to be able to thank veterans and their families for all that they've done and the sacrifices that they've made. You have veterans that have lost limbs. They've lost, obviously lost lives. But to give them an opportunity and a vehicle to play, to relieve some of the stress and give them a fun avenue for not only them, but their family is something that we've really tried to encompass here. And again, we talked about golf earlier. It's just another arm of the great game of golf and offering stress release and giving folks the ability to come out here and play and see what the Metro Parks are all about. Whether you're a golfer or not, we're doing this program to get people interested in the game. We're doing this program to get people that are and have a military background that may want to sharpen their game. So not only to them, but to their families. We're offering trolley rides as part of our program during the 2-hour program here on the 19th from 11 to 1 o'clock. So their families come out, their families make a lot of sacrifices too. And we want to give them a thank you for, always being there for that veteran and their family member, whether it be a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter. These are Americans when it's all said and done. And it's our way to say thank you to them, through the lens of golf. So I think you're going to see more of this going forward. You're going to see us basically build a nice foundation of a vehicle to get military families involved in the game of golf. And I think that it's going to explode exponentially, once this goes to some winter programs and some continued programs that may be multiple weeks as we move forward. And that's the hope of our program. PGA Hope obviously stands for helping our patriots everywhere. And to be able to have the second program in Northern Ohio PGA section and to be able to do it here in Youngstown and, take care of the vets, talking with the folks at the PGA Hope, they basically said that Ohio is the #1 state for veterans to either come to retire. And they have over 660,000 veterans here in the state of Ohio. So if we can take, 1% of that and give them an avenue for a relaxful day and a fun day and a way to say thank you, then we're all for it. And have your partnership, as well as the Mahoning Valley Hospital Foundation and their generous donation to getting this program off the ground and building the infrastructure needed to make this happen for not only this year, but the years ahead. We can't thank you guys and Mahoning Valley Hospital Foundation enough for all that you do in making this program hopefully be the tip of an iceberg for more going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm kind of curious about. We talk about a long season too. It starts back up almost as quickly as it ends. But what does the next few months after the golf season end look like for Mill Creek Golf and for Brian Tolnar?
Well, for us, I always get a chuckle. We have folks that come out and they're like, your season pretty much ends pretty much after we do a 12 days of Christmas sale. We'll do a Snowbird Scramble, which is basically our last scramble of the year. We host that in-house. We usually do that the 14th or 15th of November. This year's event's on the 14th. And we sort of parlay that into a Cleveland Browns or Steelers game in the afternoon. So when they finish, everybody's here. It's just a nice way to wrap up the year. We tuck the pins on some hills and some mounds and make it fun, a little bit different than what the customers are used to seeing. We do our 12 days of Christmas sale, and we do a big blowout sale on the 23rd. But really, from after that point, you go into the end of January, you go into the end of December, January, February. And for the most part, the first couple of weeks of March, everybody's like, well, what do you guys do during the off season? It must be a nice relax, or you guys step away. It's really December and January that we're outlaying, 2022, from a budget perspective, from a capital improvement to a capital equipment perspective, getting the bids, getting the focus on, what we need to improve upon, heading into the next season. Once that gets approved, we start with in the schools golf programs. We do a lot of the schools in Mahoning County. Obviously, COVID stopped that a little bit last year, but we started at the elementary level. Gym classes here in the Mahoning Valley don't tend to offer golf. You play about every other sport, from bowling to football to basketball to tennis, you name it, in the gym. So we wanted to get to kids at an earlier age, the elementary age, So one of the things that we came up with and had obviously donations to start this program was to get these inflatables, to get these oversized clubs where you hit tennis balls inside gyms and basically set up a golf course for a week's worth of teaching. And we've done that in probably a half a dozen to 10 schools up until COVID hit. So we do that. We do some special needs golf in gymnasiums as well for the ESC. We continue on with that, and not only growing the game, for juniors and the kids at the elementary level, we also do all these golf and travel shows. We travel to Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Rochester, New York, and Buffalo, Michigan, Novi, Michigan, and Toronto, and set up booths, part of the tourism here in Youngstown. We sit in a booth for a weekend promoting stay and play packages with our area hotels to gravitate not only people to this golf course, but people to the Mahoning Valley to play golf. Again, trying to grow that pie outside just our 30-mile region, I think is huge. So it's very active. You do a lot of your scheduling and lay everything out, just like running a tournament. All the work is done behind the scenes. And the day of the tournament is basically, letting it happen. You put it on cruise control and you take care of issues. And we really look at the season the same way. Not only from the golf perspective, but we also see the recreation department and all the youth hockey and adaptive sports and baseball and soccer and soon to be flag football, which we'll have an announcement here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks in the spring and fall with an in-house league that we're running. Learn to play program from the NHL. So having some national affiliations and creating those partnerships are all the things that we do during the off season to really build for a positive and upbeat financial year as you head forward. So it's bringing the people into play and finding ways to create revenue and revenue streams here and there and working on your capital improvements. We're hopeful that in a couple weeks here we'll have our recreation center go out to bid and be able to award a bid in our October meeting for immediate construction with the hopes of opening our recreation center, health and wellness center up at the Wick Recreation area come June of next year. We've been working with architects the past probably 3 or 4 weeks for the indoor players development facility here at the golf course field house, which will have indoor simulators, which will have an indoor chipping and putting green, custom fitting shop, and be able to keep our facility open for 12 months and offer golf 12 months as opposed to 8 or 9 months. So, there's a lot on the plate. There's a lot of great things happening here. And it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time and effort, not only from myself, but from our entire staff, which I think we have probably one of the best here in the Mahoning Valley. Everybody's on the same page. We're all looking for making the place better than how we found it a number of years ago. And, those are the types of things that we're looking forward. Writing grants during the off season as well are vitally important. Salvaging some private sector funding and grant funding to take the burden off of taxpayers here locally, I think is key too. And it's something that we're always cognizant, and we've been very lucky on getting rewarded financially for those in 3 or 4 different aspects every single season that I've been here. So, it takes a lot of time and effort to put some of these grant forms together. They're 80 to 100 pages long, and you're always putting together your forecasting plan. So being able to do that on 10 or 12 of these and hopefully landing 3, 4, or 5 of these, I think are huge. And then working on your capital improvements during the off season, it's where it's super busy. And that's where folks just don't understand. They're like, you must have it on easy street going into the winter. But that's really where we do our lion's share of the work. We do our planners, our signups, our flyers, all of that stuff is done during the off season. So we don't have to worry about that. And we're just dealing with the day-to-day operational stuff and maintenance issues that come up during the season. So very active when it comes to the off season. A lot of people, don't see that side, but it's the hard work that you put in behind the scenes that I think makes you successful when you are in front of everybody doing the media shows and running the tournaments and the outings and sporting events. We just finished up with Green Cathedral this past weekend with the most signups that we've ever had. So, continuing to build upon that success is really where we're at.
I know you've said before on this show that one of the good things about the off season though is you're able to get home to your family in a decent time and able to spend a little bit more family time at home. And speaking about your family, your son is still getting ready for that drive, chip, and putt regional at Oak Hills. Give us an update because we haven't heard from him in a while on how that's going and what are some expectations come October for those regionals down in Michigan?
Well, the off-season time is certainly a great time to spend with the family. January, February, March is, probably the most time that I get to spend on the weekends. We're super busy here during the course of the golf season, with exception of when we're traveling to those golf shows. So to be able to get it home at a reasonable hour, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I think is spectacular. And to be able to spend some weekends and coach Preston in basketball, and now he's in flag football, and continue on with golf. We have a couple weeks left. The 14th and 15th, we head to, I want to say it's Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, to go at Oakland Hills Country Club, where it's ironically the last qualifier to get in of the 9. Not certain what the weather's going to play up there. I've been looking at the scoring numbers of the ones that have been completed in over past years. The regional that we go into tends to be a lot less from a points perspective to qualify to get out. And I think a little bit of that has to do with the weather conditions that you find in mid to late October, the more north that you go in this part of the country. So, the ground's a little bit softer. The ball's not rolling quite as far. The greens aren't as smooth as they would be in June, July, and August. But hey, that's the hand that you're dealt in this regional that we qualified for. So what that translates into a player's perspective is we got to find ways for Preston to carry the ball far. He depends a lot on the run when it comes to the driving. I think he can hold his own chipping and putting. We've certainly put in the time together practicing just about every day. And I am cutting into his flag football time. And, he's made it known that, hey, Dad, flag football is my favorite sport. Golf's is number 2. So we're talking flag football season now. So I'm dealing with juggling practices, or my wife is dealing with running around juggling practices with that. But, trying to get in the time to golf and practice. And I've got some drills for him. He gets up every morning. We go on the indoor putting mat. We mess around with that. He hits about 50 to 100 putts, depending upon how much time he leaves himself between getting ready for school and eating breakfast and going out the door. We do the same thing when he, just before he goes to bed, he hits probably for 10 or 15 minutes on that putting mat. After school, my wife drops him off here. I'll get to work with him for about a half hour, 45 minutes before he goes to karate, flag football, swimming lessons, basketball, you name it. It's all over the board. So my wife certainly is a saint for running him around and for everything that she does for our family in the absence of myself being here. I mean, she's just been phenomenal and making sure that he gets to everything and making sure that he's solid in the classroom. And that's, one of the things that I really emphasize too. You have to be good with the books in the classroom to be able to have the opportunity to play athletics. Books are number 1 and athletics are number 2. And we're really trying to make that and build that foundation as parents. And, he's definitely spending a lot of time studying. He's working, with my wife being a teacher, that certainly helps. And reading, I think, is huge. Wasn't a big fan of reading as a kid, but I mean, he certainly loves to get in and read a number of books per week. But to be able to prepare, chipping and putting mechanically, I work with him a little bit on that. And just making the game fun for him, I think, is the focus, because the tedious work with the game of golf is all the time and effort you put in for practicing and preparing. And at 7 years old, that's not fun stuff. You want to get out there and you want to play, you want to compete. So to have a healthy balance of both of that, simulating what he's going to see, the pre-shot routine of visualizing what he has at 7 is, the increments of, what a 7-year-old to 10-year-old, basically bring in and take from a golf lesson. Your windows are small, so you have to get in there quick and you have to make the rest of it fun. And I think being able to do that, makes them want to play golf and continue on. So to spend time there, weekends, we, always spend a lot of time on Saturday afternoons when I'm done. And then Sunday, depending upon, what we've got going on here, if there's no outings or anything, I really try to take him out to play 9 holes. And I do the same thing on Friday evenings before he goes to karate. And I think, having a myriad of sports certainly helps with golf. I mean, karate being one, he does that 2 days a week. It helps him with his balance. And I think, as kids grow up and grow through the game of golf, balance is vital. So having that and swimming as part of that, help him with, development of balance. Flag football and basketball, build some endurance and build some muscle mass and give him the power that he needs to hit the ball. But again, it's all going to come down to, how he performs with the 9 shots that he's going to hit. He gets 3 drives, 3 putts, and 3 chips. And, he's certainly putting the time in to practice, but we want to make sure that it's fun and it's something that he wants to do, and not just because dad likes the game of golf. I want him to choose the game of golf because he likes and enjoys it and has friends that enjoy it, not because dad played. So, having the other sports in there that I was a big fan of as a kid. I didn't really start liking the game of golf till I was about 12 or 13 years of age. So to have him be, 5-6 years ahead of that schedule is pretty cool as a parent and as a golf professional. And to be able to go out and play with your kid, I think is unique.
Man, karate, swimming, flag football, basketball, golf, studying for school, and reading. Ty, what have you done with your life lately?
I mean, not nearly as much. I mean, very, very busy. I mean, it seems like even when Brian Tonar's in the off season, it's a lot of running around. So he's around some sort of sport and tries to stay around golf as much as you can. It sounds like
he's beating us, and he's only 7.
Yeah.
Brian, the Ryder Cup is here. It's going to be in the 24th, and we've been previewing it the last couple of weeks, but now we get to talk about the actual course and the predictions of how we think it's going to go. So, without further ado, give us kind of a Ryder Cup preview and how you think things are going to shake out.
I'll tell you what, this one, as much as I love this country, and we've talked about it on numerous occasions, and I'm 100% rooting for the Americans. On paper, you look at the ages, you look at the players, you look at past records, what they've done as players and as teams. Coming off a 17.5 to 10.5 loss this last go around from France. Considering the United States team has 6 rookies compared to 3 rookies that are on the European team. The golf course is, yes, it's an American golf course, but it's designed to be more like a British Open Seaside Links course. You've got 2 miles of this golf course of a stretch, which equates to about 8 holes that are going to be challenged by the winds and the terrain of Lake Michigan. So you're going to get some winds, you're going to get some current. Those 8 holes are going to play different. They're going to play very British Open, Scottish Open, Irish Open like. They have deep pot bunkers. Pete Dye, if you played any of his facilities have a lot of bunkers to them, a lot of sand. There's a lot of grass dunes here. There's a lot of sand right and left if you miss the fairway. And it always comes back to me when you go to Whistling Straits, Dustin Johnson, where he had the PGA wrapped up and he grounded his club in the sand. He had that 2-shot penalty, ended up losing the PGA. It's just, you cannot hit a errant tee shot. You have to be very accurate off the tee to give yourself opportunities. The greens are very big and rolling. There's a litany of sand. There's a litany of obstacles to go around. You have running fairways. From a course perspective, on paper, it certainly favors the European team. And I think there's a couple variables that you have to look at. Yeah, the European team has more guys in their 40s than the United States team, which is lion's share made of, guys in their 20s, early 30s. I mean, if you think of the United States team, the statesman of this team is 37 years old, and it's Dustin Johnson. And I don't see Dustin Johnson as being a old veteran-like player of this team. I still see him as being a relatively new player. Of the new players, Dustin and Bryson DeChambeau, the 2 big names for American golf, both have losing records for veterans in this. Obviously Bryson's only played in a couple, and Dustin's played in a number of these at 37 years old because he's qualified. 7-9-1 is not a solid record as your elder statesman of the team at 37. But I think, with new players and new rookies coming to the game, yes, there's a lot of pressure packed in for the United States. I just think it's a lot to overcome, having 6 of those in there, and you're pairing them with some veteran players that haven't really won too much. I think it's a monumental task for the United States. And again, going back to some variables, I think of number 1, you start with crowd. I think we own the crowd being on home soil. Weather. You look at the weather this week, and looking at the weather, it's 73 on Friday, 45 at night. Saturday, it's 65, 45 at night. And Sunday, it's high of 69 all cloudy with a possible mix of sun, low of 59. So weather, I would say more favors Europe, but it could be a toss-up. So I could say 50-50 there. Format, certainly the way that they're playing it favors the European team. They historically, we've not done well in the alternate shot. So we dig ourselves a hole early on. We have to come back with the best ball portion. So you're constantly being down, you're being that underdog. I think the underdog role certainly benefits the United States, although the Europeans play with that chip on their shoulder year in and year out. I think you look at how we are in paper. I go United States. Rookies, only 3. And I would say technically 2, because if you look at one of the rookies, Shane Lowry's almost 40 years old. It's his first year qualifying. He's won majors. He's played well on a big stage, so he's not going to play like a rookie. I think you look at the veterans and you look at all the players that are in their 40s, the Sergio Garcias, the Ian Poulters, the Shane Lowry, even though he's a rookie, he's a veteran. Lee Westwood, Paul Casey, Roy McIlroy, who's played in so many of these. The veterans, the scale sort of tips to the Europeans. And the fact that the United States has to get more than 14 and a half to plus points, because if you tie at 14, European has the tiebreaker. So, a 14-point tie does the U.S., not too much. However, I look at, if you go with the alternate shot, Europe. You do the best ball matches, I would say Europe. Singles, I would say here's where you have a distinct advantage. Number one, our team is younger and more youthful. So those veterans may be out of gas by the end of the week, the 40-year-olds on the European team. And that's what you really have to hope for if you're rooting for the United States, that those guys are gassed come Sunday with all the pressure and all the matches that they play leading up to that. So if we have a finish like we did in 1999 when we won in Brookline and we came back from 5 points down going into the final round to beat Europe by, I think, a point or maybe a half a point, in probably one of the greatest Ryder Cups that I've ever witnessed. We really have to do it in the singles matches, and we can't go into Sunday being more than 2, 3, 4 points down, just because I don't think that there's enough in the singles to make up for it. So we have to keep it close going into the weekend, and having to keep it close in a Ryder Cup and a team competition is not something that you want. You want to be, even going in, or one up or one down going into Sunday. And I just don't think the Americans are going to get out to a huge lead going into the weekend. And I just think that for whatever reason, and I put a lot of thought towards this, the European players, Ian Poulter is obviously a household name when it comes to Ryder Cup. Sergio Garcia, although Sergio's won more, Ian Poulter has not won very much on the PGA and European Tour. He plays good enough to make these teams, but when they play this format, the Lee Westwoods that hasn't won a major, they're always there in major tournaments but can't get it done. Whatever they do when they get into this team format, they elevate their game by 10 steps above the Americans. And I think it's a combination of, number one, they always travel together from week in and week out on the European Tour. You've got guys going from, Germany to Italy to Ireland to Colombia, you name it. They're always traveling together as a group. So they're always there, a tightly knit bunch. The Americans, it's more of an independent contract job on the PGA Tour. You may get 1 or 2 friends travel together on a net jet, but for the most part, they're traveling solo. They're flying solo. They're with their families. It's more of a business-like atmosphere on the PGA Tour as compared to the European Tour, where it's more of a family atmosphere. And I think that that's where the U.S. gets hurt a little bit. And then on the European side too, the European team is made up of a number of countries in Europe. So you got Northern Iowa, or Northern, I'm thinking football again, Northern Ireland. You've got Germany. You've got England. You've got Sweden. You've got all of these places that, Norway and Spain, when you talk about John Rahm and Sergio Garcia, they're playing for their country too. They're playing for Europe, but they're also playing for the pride of their country. The United States is just one. You're just playing for the United States. So I think it raises the bar. Yes, you're playing for Europe, but yes, you're also playing for your country as well. And I think it means more to them as a team event for whatever reason. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just think from a European standpoint, having that cohesion of always traveling together, and 10, 12, 15 guys, they charter a flight over from Europe to get over here. So they've got that time to spend together, where the guys on the U.S. team come in, play golf, practice, go home, do their media stuff. And basically you're put on repeat for 30 times a year, where the Europeans are flying from these different countries all over Europe and all over the world that the European tour goes to, or the international tours that these guys play on go to. And it really builds bonds between players that our Americans just don't have. You have a couple between a couple players. I mean, you can't discount Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, who've been playing together since AJGA Junior Golf. Played for the AJGA Junior Ryder Cup team. So they know what it's all about. They travel together, but it's not like that with, Brooks Koepka, who's ongoing feud with Bryson DeChambeau. Those guys are clashing in the locker room, and I can't think that's just not going to be a positive or a disadvantage, having guys clash in your locker room. I think you have to be on the up and up. I think you have to put individual clashes aside to be successful and take that out. And I just think the Americans are either they're not willing or they're unable to be able to compartmentalize that side of the game. And that's where I think, having the pick this week, I'm going to go with Europe. I've been kind of preaching that the last couple of weeks. I think if the Americans win, it's going to be not by much. It'll be a 15-13 or a 14.5, 13.5. It's going to be close. So I don't see the Americans winning by more than 2 points if they have an opportunity to win. On the other hand, having known what Europe did to us over in France, 17.5 to 10.5, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw another 18-10, a 16-12 type of a finish, where it's, you get beat by 4, 5, 6 points, top to bottom. I just think the Europeans, for whatever reason, raise the bar when they go into this, and they make it a special event. They make it a team event. Although the momentum will be on the American side being played here, I think everything else goes against them. And I know a lot of people in the United States are picking, the golf rankings and the odds and everything are really picking the United States. And I just don't see the format to get that done realistically. Yeah, I want them to win. I'm rooting for them. There's no one that likes getting beat by Europe more than I dislike it, watching the Ryder Cup and being out of it going into Sunday after you've had a dismal Friday and Saturday, than I do. But I just don't see how the Americans overcome, unless it's a strong single showing on Sunday, that they're going to give themselves the opportunity to win this by a point or no more than 2 points.
Today we talked about big upsets, and this might be a big upset for America, coming in. Odds are stacked against them, and Brian said, there's a lot of mountains to climb, but if they do it, then it might be one of the big upsets. Let's go USA. All that being said, Brian, it is time for the final tip of the week for season number 2. The pamphlet's coming soon as we get more and more tips. So what is your final tip for season 2?
Well, final tip for season 2, and I can't think of a more fitting tip than talking about the end of the golf season. And hopefully for our part, it's not until after Thanksgiving, which generally the weather's been really good on the backside. The only thing that we're fighting against is daylight. Obviously it's 7:50, it gets dark, and at some point when the time changes, it'll be around 5:30. So we want to keep you golfing. So I don't want this to hinder what the golf tip is going to be, but basically, the golf tip this week is going to be off-season maintenance. And we'll talk a little bit from a equipment and a golfer's ability, player development type of golf tip this week. And we'll start off with the equipment. Number one, your equipment's probably your biggest expense when it comes to the game of golf. We want to make sure that equipment stays in as best shape as we possibly can. I'll give you a tip that I begrudgingly give because I want to be able to sell grips to everybody, but here's one that will keep your grips from dry rotting at the end of the year. Take Glass Plus, take Windex, really scrub those grips down at the end of the year. You got to think about all summer long, it was really hot. Your hands are sweaty. They're filled with oils. Your grips continually get filled with everything that's on your hands, whether it be dirt, whether it be sweat, whether it be the oils in your skin. those build in your grips, believe it or not, when you head to the off season. And if you let them sit during the off season like that, they will have the tendency to dry rot, and they will have the tendency to be really slippery come spring when you have the opportunity to knock the dust off and get out and play. So the first thing that we want to do is we really want to wipe those grips off. We want to make sure that all those oils are out. And a good way is to get a dry towel, spray some Windex or some Glass Plus. Anything that takes oil out of your grips is paramount to keeping them from a longevity standpoint. So that's the first thing that we do. We want to clean the clubs up. We want to clean the shafts off. If there's any dampness on the shafts, if you play in the fall and you've got dew and there's some of that on the shafts of your clubs, when you put them away, they'll have the tendency to rust. So we want to make sure that they're in good shape. And probably the most important of everything that we do is a lot of guys will leave and a lot of ladies will leave their golf clubs in their trunk for the extended period of winter, or they'll take them out of the trunk and put them in their garage that's not heated. So what happens is the graphite shafts in your clubs have the tendency to break down when it's very, very cold or it's very, very hot. So it's one of the reasons why we really don't like to leave them in trunks too often where it's 90 degrees out, because your trunk's probably about 110. So it'll break down the fibers in those graphite shafts that you have. It'll dry out your grips, and, something that we just talked about on making sure that those are clean. And when it breaks down the fibers in your shafts, it makes the shafts a little bit weaker to the point where you have to get new shafts quicker than you really need to. So I think, bring them in your basement, where it's climate controlled, as opposed to leaving your clubs out in your garage. And I think that not only helps your graphite shafts, your steel shafts, it also helps with the heads of your clubs. Epoxy holds the club heads on, whether it be a graphite or steel shaft. The colder it gets or the hotter it gets, that's when that epoxy breaks down. And I can't help but share with you a number of people that come out and play their first or second round of the year after they left their clubs in their car all winter or in their garage all winter, and a head flies off of their club, whether it be on the driving range. We see that a lot when players will go down there and hit balls before they take that first round swing of the year. Or if it's your first or second round of the year, and I've got a 7-iron that I've hit for the past 5 or 6 years, the head flies off of it. The reason that it does is that epoxy breaks down because it got so cold. And it's sub temperatures in the winter or below 30 degrees, not a good place to be having your clubs. And that's in the back of your trunk of your car or in the garage or left outside on a porch. So making sure that you're putting those clubs in a climate controlled room will eliminate the shafts from breaking down, the club heads from flying off, the grips from dry rotting. So, taking care of that equipment, it doesn't sound like much, but it's very, very important from the longevity of not having to buy grips every single year in and year out. Now, depending upon how much you play, you may have to buy grips, but if we can keep them in there, the longer, the better off it's going to be. And the more price feasible it's going to be with the price of where rubber is for golf ball creation and grips and so on down the line. And I think the last, piece of the equation is, part of that bag is we want to make sure we want to take care of those golf balls. As they're setting out in that garage, the shelf life on the cover tends to harden a little bit. So if we keep them in a climate controlled or temperature controlled environment, those golf balls will be good as new for the following season. Keeping them on the shelf in your garage or keeping them in your trunk does no justice to those. They won't fly as far as they normally would, and the shells will become a little bit further, which will take off some of the spin, when you get out there and you play those first couple rounds of spring. And that's from an equipment standpoint. The last piece of the equation with the equipment is your shoes. Just as the grips dry rot, your shoes dry rot as well. So making sure that those are brought in the house during the off season are big. If it's really, really hot, the leather has a tendency to shrink up. If it's really, really cold, the leather has a tendency of drying out and not becoming as waterproof as those were the year before. So we want to keep that waterproof cell or shell on the cover of those golf shoes, and we want to keep them more viable for the years to come. So being able to bring your golf shoes inside is just as important to bringing your equipment in. From a player's perspective, keeping up with your flexibility, whether it's a treadmill, working on cardio exercises during the off season, anything that gives you the most mobility and flexibility to be able to make that arc and that full turn, as we talk about during the golf swing during the season. Everybody loses some club head speed as you grow older, and during the off season we tend to see a loss of that as well, because we're not as limber, we're not playing, we're not walking, we're not hiking, we're not playing other sports as we normally would do during the spring, summer, and fall during the winter time. So being able to jump on a treadmill, jump on a bike or a stationary bike in the winter, or going to work out, working on those flexibility exercises are vital in maintaining your distance off the tee, maintaining your flexibility, and maintaining your club head speed. Those are the three variables that give us distance, whether it be an iron, a wood, or a hybrid or fairway wood, by being able to keep that level of club head speed high. So having the flexibility certainly will allow you to do that. So exercise, walking, keep the cardio good, keep the legs in shape, will give you a jump start on all others who basically take the winter off and jump on the couch more than they like to during the off season. Then people that are active continue to do exercises that are viable to maintaining your body's flexibility. Playing sports in the off season, I think, is key as well. Being athletic and being moving is the biggest key in the off season. Now, hopefully we're a couple months away from that, but those are very good keys to make sure that you come out firing on all cylinders the spring of 2022, which hopefully will be in early March.
Brian, I think you deserve a nice little golf clap for a wonderful season 2, full of great tips, and the pamphlet's coming soon. Don't worry. We continue to thank you and to thank you for your time and all the things that you do for YSN. And we're going to see you again real soon. On October 19th, we'll be down there for the PGA Hope program, and we can't wait for that.
Certainly going to be a special day for us as golf professionals and for the Mill Creek Metro Parks. But can't thank you enough, Anthony. Can't thank you enough, Ty, for all that you guys have done for us. Look forward to seeing you on the 19th. It's going to be a fun day.
All right, Brian, until season 3, which will be coming, I feel like the end of the Avengers. Brian Tolnar will return in season 3.
Hard to believe we'll be on our 3rd year, but
I know it's crazy. We talked about football going so fast. This is going so fast. So we will see you again soon, my friend, and thank you so much for your time.
Hats off to DJ for starting this. It's been phenomenal.
Most things are started by DJ. He does a great job.
Thank you.
All right. See you later, Brian. That was Brian Tolnar for the season 2 finale of our segment with the golf guru from Mill Creek. We can't thank him enough for all he does. We did get a text from Penny DeShields, and unfortunately, stuff came up at school. We understand that most of these coaches are school workers as well, and we will look to get Penny on again real soon because we want to talk to her about 300 wins and the great season the West Branch is having. So we'll get Penny on again real soon, and we look forward to talking to her tomorrow. Phil Simone, the head coach of the Canfield girls soccer team, coming on at 1 o'clock. Maggie Pavlansky, new member of the 1,000 assist team, will be joining us at 1:15, and we'll also have in-depth previews of 5 football matchups in Week 6. We can't wait for that. Ty, last thoughts on the Wednesday?
Just sad we have to say goodbye to Brian, but we're looking forward to season 3 as we cap off a season 2. Glad to have Scotty on Wednesdays as usual. That's not going to end, and we're glad to see Scotty every Wednesday, and just excited to get into it Thursday as we get into week 6 of the football season now.
Like, I mean, the nerd in me just wants a post-credit scene and then the Mill Creek graphic to pop up that says Brian Tolnar will return in season 3. You know, really cool. So we'll be back tomorrow, 12 to 2. The Casual Sports Podcast coming up from 2 to 3. Power Hour from 3 to 4 to wrap out your Wednesday. And before we get out of here, let's also just give you a chance to look at what is going on tonight as far as games are concerned. You'll look at it, and let's see, on Wednesday, where I am on Wednesday, we have DJ is going to Heartland Christian. East Palestine will be there, and also Chris Sigler will be in Beaver Local as they are hosting Steubenville. Actually, it's going to be Mike McKenzie on the call there, but that will still be covered. A couple of other volleyball games going on as East goes to Ursuline, and Lisbon goes to Toronto. In the soccer way of things, a couple of girls soccer action as Brookfield is a champion. Garrettsville Garfield is at Waterloo. Fitch girls are going to go to Howland, and Struthers will be going to Hubbard. Also, I believe South Range hosts Girard tonight. So some soccer matches that you can get out to, and some volleyball matches as well. East Palestine at Heartland Christian will be on the network. So will Beaver Local hosting Steubenville. So once again, we'll be back tomorrow, 12 to 2. We're taking a 22-hour break. See you all then.